Well, hello there, and welcome to the Dana Spencer Show, where we talk about solving problems, building relationships, quitting corporate, and the freedom to walk in our God given purpose. So, how are you feeling out there? I hope you are feeling amazing. You have the activity of your limbs. This is the day that the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And I'm super glad today. And I know I say that all the time because I have an amazing guest with me, because I always have amazing guests. But today is a very special guest. Give a warm, the Dana Spencer Show welcome to Mr. Larry O'Bannon Jr. Woo! Welcome to the show, Larry. How we feeling?
Thank you. Feeling good. I appreciate you for having me on, man. I'm looking forward to this ever since we've been able to connect a while ago and been able to put some time on the books to get this thing together. And I've been looking forward to it. So glad you have me on.
Awesome. Well, and I know you're a busy man and the kiddos are liable to come in or whatever might happen, but we're just going to keep rolling with it. And so tell me, what was it that you wanted to be when you grew up?
I always knew I wanted to be a basketball player. I always wanted to be an NBA player. That was something I always wanted to ever since I was a little kid. I love playing basketball. I played all sports, but basketball was probably my main thing. I also wanted to be a tennis shoe designer. I still have it to this day. When I was a little kid, I have a big portfolio full of shoe designs where I love sitting back, drawing and designing sneakers. So those are the two things that I wanted to be when I was younger. Didn't get neither one of those feats, but setting lofty goals put me on the path to success either way.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that. So, would you go on to play basketball at the high school level?
I did. I went on to play basketball at Male High School for 4 years, and man, had a wonderful, wonderful career. Played with some great guys. Got a chance to make some wonderful lifelong friends that you run into in the city of Louisville. So having recently moved back, man, it's good to catch up with some of those guys. But it helps you, make lifelong friends playing athletics in high school.
So, and I am a manual grad. So, yes, there we go. So, how did, and a little bit of a spoiler alert, how did the male manual rivalry help you in the future when you would go on to play for U of L and have the U of L UK rivalry?
Oh man, and you know what? They just played not too long ago. I think Manuel beat them down pretty good. So seems like the tide's kind of shifting. I think we had the good momentum there for a minute, but Manuel put a spanking on us the other day. But it was great, man. Just that whole rivalry, pep rallies that week, and everybody just being excited. We often at Mail we had a theme for each day of the week that led up to that game. And so, that was something that we look forward to. Then everybody had that Friday, it was always Spirit Day, whether we played them in football, whether we played them in basketball. So everybody would come in their blue jeans and their best school spirit attire and look forward to just packing out the game. And so that rivalry just kind of prepared me for everything afterwards, man, especially, later on going to play at U of L and getting ready for UK U of L rivalry or whatever rivalry may happen. But it was a great preparation and a great stepping stone for what was to come.
So, how would you make the decision? So, once you were, playing at Mill, did you get several different scholarship offers, or you always been a U of L fan and you knew that was the direction you were headed?
I didn't. No, anybody that knows me, I've always been a UConn guy. My dream school was to go play at UConn. Ray Allen was my favorite player, and that's the reason I wore number 34. Um, and yeah, that was probably my dream school. Obviously I knew about U of L. I love U of L at the same time because I knew a lot of players, looked up to a lot of guys that came through U of L. Your DeJuan Weeds, your Jason Osborne's, your Dwayne Morton, Greg Miners, Eric Sullivan's, and all these guys that, you kind of looked up to. But at the same time, my dream was always to go play at UConn. But to make a long story short, I didn't get recruited by Louisville until Coach Pitino came. Coach Crum, he liked big guards. He just felt like, from a standpoint, I didn't fit the criteria of the system that he played in. Me and him kind of joked about that when I had him on the podcast before his passing. But, man, he was a great sport about it. But Rick Pitino came in and was just looking for some guys to build his program around. And so, I was blessed enough. He offered me a scholarship to come and play, man, and that was it.
So how important is it, from a coach's standpoint, the coaches know, pretty much what they're looking for. And I've talked to, I've interviewed people where, maybe they were playing offense and with a couple of tweaks, they were able to play defense, for football or whatever the case may be. How important is it to, to be what the coach wants out of a program?
Man, more than ever now, it's really important because, you have to be able to look at a coach's style, the way he coaches, how he plays, how he goes about taking care of his players. You have to make sure that it's the right fit for you. I mean, when I first got to U of L, man, it was rough for me, Coach Pitino. It was a big adjustment, man, just from his competitive standpoint, his work ethic, what he demands of you. It was different. It was a total culture shock for me, and so it took me a little bit of time to adjust to it. But I wouldn't trade it for the end of the world. But I think it's just super important. I think a lot of kids have gotten away from that now. When you think about transfer portal and NIL and how those things come into play now, I think it's more so kids looking at from a financial standpoint rather than making sure it's the right fit. And so then when you tackle the portal on top of that, if things aren't the right fit, kids can just up and leave. Whereas when I was in school, if you wanted to leave, you had to sit out for a year. You couldn't really just hop around. So it's really different. But, to get back to what you asked me, I think having a major fit can play a major, major role, and it's a major factor in determining the path that you have forward going in, whatever industry that you want, whether it be athletics or academics.
So, and since you brought up the portal, and I've asked this to a lot of coaches as well and athletes, in terms of, back in the day, there was stability, right?
Mm-hmm.
A 4-year college, or to your point, if you transferred, you had to sit out for a year. Now
Right.
transferring is easier. And how is this helping or hurting the individual in terms of you can't always transfer? Life is not going to always let you transfer.
Right.
So how is this helping or hindering our young men from developing?
There's pros and cons to it. I think the pros aspect, I think it brings a lot more parity to college basketball. Beforehand, you always had your blue bloods, your UCLAs, your Kentuckys, your Dukes, your Louisvilles, your North Carolinas. These were kind of like the brands of college basketball with the marquee coaches that dominated the game. So now you see a lot of mid-majors that are able to get some of these players. The guys are not necessarily wanting to go and play at the high level and sit behind people. People are wanting to go someplace where they can shine, put up numbers, increase their market value, maybe transfer to a bigger school or try to jump to the NBA. So, those are the pros of the transfer portal. I think the cons of it is that it doesn't teach you to face adversity, figure things out, which is what life is about. Things don't go your way, then I'll just go try to find something else. And grass is not always greener. The same problems you're going to be facing here is more than likely the same problems you're going to be facing someplace else. So you can only run from your problems for so long. But I do think there should be exceptions to it. I think, extreme circumstances, if you go to a school, because it's a major life decision, when you go to a university, that's one of the biggest decisions you can make. So I think, if you go to a school and this is not the right fit, it's not what I thought it was going to be, I want to transfer one time, no problem. You go someplace, I come to play for Coach Pitino. Coach Pitino decides he wants to go take an NBA job or another college job. I think you should be able to leave and go and find another coach to go and play for. No problem with that. You want to go someplace and, your family, your mom, your dad gets really sick. You need to be closer to back home to help take care of your family. No problem with that. With examples like that in extreme and rare cases, I have no problem with the transfer portal. But just because a coach is getting on you, or you feel like you're not getting enough NIL money, or you're not playing, you're not figuring out how to get on the court, and you just want to transfer or try it someplace else, I'm not a firm believer in that.
And you hit one aspect of, everybody wants to score, right? Everybody wants to be Jordan. But at the end of the day, we need some Dennis Rodmans. So are we seeing a lack of Dennis Rodman style players that I just want to get the rebound and pass it to Mike? I just want to grab the boards and pass it to Mike. Are we seeing more of that as opposed to figuring out what your role is on the team and then being really, really good at that?
I think you are. I think two major things really play a component into that nowadays. I think you have social media. Every kid wants to have a mixtape or a highlight tape that they can put on social media or talk about or showcase. They only showcase the all-star moves. They don't show the defense, sprinting the lanes, diving on the floor. They don't show the total, put
But
things in
still,
the
what about that still got
yeah.
goals?
They don't put things in the context. They only show the all-star moves, which is cool. But I think that kind of has brought a trend of individualization. I think NIL has brought more of a individualization as far as really, guys wanting to be um, statistics chasers, if you will say, not necessarily finding their role or necessarily being the Dennis Rodmans. Everybody wants to be the Jordans. Everybody wants to be the star of their own right and to be able to make more money or to just, like I said, make social media or, these different highlight tapes that they just want to post and just, have affirmation amongst their peers and amongst their friends. That's good enough for them. And so I think you do see a lot more individualism in today's game just because of those two factors. So it makes it a lot harder for coaches to really, try to get teammates and teams to buy into their individual roles to make the team be their best. And so it makes it tough, man. It makes it tough. That's why you see a lot of old school coaches really kind of stepping away and retiring because a lot of them don't have the leverage anymore.
Wow, that's a good point. So what, and now you use the pros and cons of things. So what are the pros to the NIL policies?
Man, you know what, man? A lot of kids have kids in college. And so, and this is it's a financial responsibility to be able to raise kids. So when you think about the NIL from that aspect of really being able to help out these young men that and young women that have kids, man, is being able to help them in that aspect. And a lot of athletes for some reason they don't come from strong backgrounds, particularly the African American community. A lot of them come from, lesser neighborhoods, lower class, and, families are struggle. So NIL has been a way to help, support them and help their family. If they don't have kids, it's a way for them to help their brother and sister, help their mom. And it's also, a lot of these kids are not going to play at the professional level. And so, the majority that are intelligent, are smart with their money, are able to save and put some up and help them transition. So once their sporting career is over, have something saved up to help them transition to what their next career is going to be after sports.
So we'll come back to the investing in your real estate portfolio, but I want to circle back to you playing for Rick Pitino. So, and you alluded to the fact that he was a hard coach. So, what was it really like playing for Rick Pitino?
Everything you can probably imagine. Everything that you can imagine, man. Very demanding, very tough, very competitive. Eats, sleeps, breathes basketball. And if you don't eat, sleep, breathe basketball, then it's probably going to be a tough mix. You have to be on the same page that he's on. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And so I think that was the biggest adjustment for me. I had never played so much basketball ever. I'll give you a prime example. My first year, I think our last game was middle of March, and so I was so exhausted because I had never just been physically worked that hard and played that much basketball. And practice didn't stop. Practice kept going to the end of the year, and that was a shock for me. I'm like, man, like this is makes you think like, man, is this really what I want to do? Or are you going to, buckle up, pull your bootstraps up and get to it? And so it was kind of like a crossroads and, forces you to dig in. It's like, okay, if this is what it takes, then this is what I got to do. So, but he was tough. Off the court, great guy, do anything in the world for you. He knows that he puts you through the ringer as far as work ethic and really pushing you beyond what you think that you can do. Treated us like professional athletes, man. Everything that we did was first class. When we traveled in first class, stayed in first class, ate first class. It was great organization. Really gave us the experiences as a motivating factor to show you that what hard work could do and how you can live if you really set your mind to doing something. It didn't have to be athletics. It could be anything, academics, but what you could achieve with hard work and the lifestyle that you could live. So it was great, man. It was great.
Yeah. So, and then you would go on to play in the Final Four. I mean, there's only a small percentage of athletes that actually make it to the Final Four and then
Yeah.
on to the championship game. So,
Yeah.
what was that experience like?
Man, it was amazing. Played in front of 80,000 people. Man, it was unlike anything. Freedom Hall was great. You play in front of 23,000 people every night, but in front of that 80,000 in a football arena, that was a mind blowing experience. And just to see the city galvanized and how much it meant to the city, from the 4th Street Live to really people come to the airport sending us off, man, lined up outside the airport fences, man. It was a great experience, something that you'll never forget. And so, hopefully with the basketball program, hopefully we can get back to those days here pretty soon. But it was wonderful, man. It was wonderful.
So, you owned me right there. So what is it going to take for this program to get back to the Final Four?
Man, we got to continue to build. We got to continue to build. We just got a lot of, the first thing was getting the NCAA sanctions over from over our head. That black cloud that really hindered us from getting a lot of recruits, right? And so, just put yourself in the shoes of an 18-year-old. First thing you want to do is like, man, do I have a chance to play in the NCAA tournament? That's the big goal. And so, when you think about Louisville, it's like, I don't know. Are they going to get the death penalty? They're probably not going to be in the NCAA tournament. Like, it's not a major factor for a kid to want to come and play there. And so now that you've got that kind of lifted over your head, now we just got to continue to build the brand back. We got to get recruits in. We got to continue to build. Obviously, we got to continue to get better. Kenny's doing all that he can down at U of L. So we just got to continue to build and support and just keep building this thing slowly but surely.
And how do you help the fan? I mean, since the Louisville fans are used to winning, right?
Yeah.
How do we, as fans and as spectators, how do we make it through a rebuilding year from all perspectives and economically? So, I mean, obviously, if the Yum Center is used to having 20,000 fans, and then this day and age they're only having 5,000-6,000. How do we get back to that place?
That's tough, man. That's a tough question. Man, obviously basketball at University of Louisville, like we got 23 sports, right? Like, and 22 out of the 23 are doing great. Football is doing great. The rest of the sports are doing great, but you can have 22 out of 23 sports, but the one that's not doing so well has the most weight, right? Basketball, and we know that. And so the higher ups at Louisville are looking into it. They're going to do and get together and make some decisions, whatever has to be done, and making sure that everything that's needed to get us back to where we need to be is going to be laid out. And so just continue to support the program and just continue to just build and be encouraging. I know it's tough being positive sometimes, especially when you're not used to seeing your team like that. But abandoning your team in the time of need is not going to help either. And I know it's easier said than done, especially when people pay their money to buy tickets and see tickets. When you talk about the economics of downtown, it really hurts the economics too, because you go from having an average of 24,000 people down to like 6 or 7, or whatever the number may be. It hurts economic business too. And so Josh and all of the people in the higher department at the University of Athletics, they know that, they've taken that into consideration. And so that's something that's above my pay grade. So it's not a position I wish to be in at the moment, man. But we understand that basketball is a big part of the community and a big part of what the university does. And so we have to get back there. We're going to get back there. And so we just got to continue to be patient and let these guys do their magic and get back to where we need to be.
Awesome. So you would graduate U of L, and then so what would happen next?
Once I graduated University of Louisville, I got my degree in accounting. Went on to play professionally for 15 years. I played in Europe for 10 years, played in Israel, and I played in Argentina, South America for a few years. So wonderful. Got a chance to travel, see the world. Got a chance to take my family across the world. Man, nothing like it. That's why, and Tel Aviv is probably one of my favorite places that I've lived, and so it's why it kind of hurts me to see what's going on over there. I still keep in touch with quite a few people there, just to make sure that everything's all right. And so this kind of hurts to see that, but had a wonderful career, finished in one piece. Man, was able to just have some priceless memories to just share, and so there's nothing like it. And so I retired in 2020 and coached high school for a couple of years, got married, have two wonderful kids, and moved back to the city of Louisville and enjoying life, man. My family slowing down and not traveling and up and moving and just taking it easy.
So what was it like? You said you were in Europe and in Argentina and all those places, and they
Mm-hmm.
have different cultures. For somebody who's out there who's thinking about, playing overseas, what's the best part about playing overseas, and then what's the negative?
The best part about playing overseas, man, is just the travel, the experiences. Obviously, you get to, do what you love doing and what you're passionate for, being able to make a living. That's the pros of it, living in different cultures, experiencing different people from all walks of life, learning different languages, and really embracing. That's probably the key to it, really embracing those cultures and kind of letting that American bubble down and letting other cultures in. That was probably the biggest thing that I had to learn. And once I did, it, it just kind of changed my view on a lot of things. Just kind of give you an example of, going into Italy or going into Serbia and, kind of going into a grocery store or someplace and kind of getting mad because nobody understands what I'm saying. And it's like, you can't come to another come to another country expecting everybody to speak English when it's not their first language, not the native language. You need to learn the native language and, make you step back and you're like, yeah, like we don't come to America expecting you to know Italian or learn Serbian and whatnot. And I'm like, man, that's true. And so once you kind of take that American ego or that American naiveness out of it, man, and kind of embrace other cultures, try different foods, go to different events that are tradition for those countries, man, it really makes it a great, great experience. And so obviously getting paid to play basketball is another pro to it. The cons to it is you just have to watch out where you go. All organizations are not the same. Some organizations are not the best, don't put you in the best conditions, don't have you in a comfortable or in a well-prepared state to stay there for a year or so. And so you have to be careful and really ask questions and do your research before you go places. Sometimes, clubs are known for not paying you all your money. So you got to know kind of all the ins and outs about where you're going and who you're going to be playing for.
Yeah, that's definitely good information. And so you said you would play for 15 years, and then in terms of, would you invest any of your income that you made while playing?
I did. I'm a big financial literacy guy. My friends always talk about, but they say you're the only athlete we know that picks up the business section before you pick up the sports section. I'm like, yeah, I do. I'm a big investor in the market. I invest in the market. I invest in real estate. I started investing in real estate probably around year 9. I started investing in the market from the very jump. Actually, most of my contract that I made for my first year, I put almost all on the market. Just because once you kind of do your research and just kind of reading and knowing the history of the market and be like, it's pretty solid, investment. So I wasn't going to buy anything. I didn't need money for anything. So I'm like, it's a good time to really put some money up on the market. But got into real estate probably in 2013. I've probably been thinking about it for a couple years beforehand. When the recession hit, it was a great opportunity, and I said, you know what, let's just do it. You've been thinking about it, you've been reading about it, and you've been on the sideline long enough. You're not going to get anything if you don't get in and play and get some experience. And so jumped in, started buying some real estate properties while the prices were really low, and was able to get some investment properties. And so by the time I got those up and jumping and running, the market had kind of come back a little bit. And so I was still looking, but just on the move, and never really got a chance to really, really dive into it fully like I wanted to. If I could go back, I probably would have bought more than what I bought during that time. But now that I'm kind of settled, I'm home, I got my kids, got a routine. Now I'm probably going to dive into it pretty hard. Got a good little plan here for the next 10 years I want to dive into. And so, I'm a big believer in investing in real estate.
So what about that athlete out there who they're making name, image, and likeness money? They've got a nice bit coming in, but they want the cars and they want the jewelry and they want the drip. What are some things that you would say to them to help them to, you know what, let's put that off for now and use our coins to invest?
I would, man. If I could go back, and I always tell young men this young women, young men, when I speak, I said I would have started in high school. Knowing what I know now, I would have started in high school. I would have, it may not have been much, but I would have took 10, 20% of whatever I had, and I just would have started putting it on the market, just letting it build. And that way, because, you think about it, anything that if you make $100, right? And let's say you take $15, $20 and put out, what can you do? Everything you can do with that $80, you can do with that $100. You wasn't going to spend every dollar of it anyway. Yeah, take $20, put out, and with the rest, you can do whatever you want. And you'd be surprised how much that compounds and what that could turn into if you stay consistent with it. And create you a plan where you just put it up, you don't even miss it. You just watch it, and just let it grow, man. That's probably my best advice. And just find what avenue you want to go into. Mine was the market when I first started. Yours may not be the market. A lot of people don't feel comfortable investing in the market. And I get it. I understand. You might like real estate, or you might like another venture. Find something it is that you can help you grow and really invest your funds in. But do your research before you do it. Don't just do it because somebody tells you to do it. Know what you're doing. Understand it in and out, and the cars, the jewelry, and that stuff will come later once you get where you're trying to go. But right now, to get yourself started, you want to get yourself prepared for when you get a little bit older, so that you're comfortable, and when you start a family, because that's expensive. so you want to get yourself well off, and the best advice that I took away from reading books. I was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, and the best thing he said was, find something you want to get somebody else to pay for it. And so when I read that, man, that was a big thing for me. Like, I started calculating. I'm like, okay, now if I wanted to make $50,000 a year, what is 50,000? What is that 5% of? 50,000. That's what, 5% of what, $1 million? I think my math. Yeah, 100,000 is 10%, 5%. Yeah. So I'm like, it seems far fetched, but with all the information that's available now today, you better reach $1 million in no time. You start reading and learning how to invest and get there early. You'd be surprised how quick you can turn that into that. And I'm just throwing numbers out there just for easy math. It could be anything, whatever your goal is, but just setting goals for yourself and trying to achieve it. I think you have to know your end game before you can set a plan to what you want to achieve.
So as far as time management. So, if an athlete has 2-a-days and they've got school, and how are they going to find the time to read books on the side like Rich Dad, Poor Dad that are not part of their, the college curriculum?
I think it's just a matter of discipline. I think if there's something that you really want to do, I think you find the time for it. It might be something that you can just read on the airplane while you're traveling, read it while you're on the bus, or you might not be reading. You might have an audio. Instead of listening to music, get you an audio book. You don't have to listen to it all day. Just 15 minutes a day. Let me pop this audio book in, listen to 15 minutes a day, get me some gems. Okay, 15 minutes. Now I can go back to doing what I was doing. I guarantee you, it's 15 minutes in your day that you can set a time aside to listen to an audio book, a podcast like the Dana Spencer Show, and get your gems. That's all. It's not something that you got to sit and dedicate a whole hour or 2 hours to. Just long as you make daily deposits into your knowledge about something. That's all it is.
You mean you don't have to always listen to music? You can listen to other things besides music?
There you go. There you go. There you go. Cut the future off for a little bit. Cut the little Uzi Vert or whatever it is they listen to. Cut it off for 15 minutes. Get you some informative and knowledgeable podcasts about something that you really want to do or that you want to invest in. Because it's unlimited. It's unlimited resources out here now to be able to grow and to learn about investing.
All right, so here on the Dana Spencer Show, we talk about building relationships. So you said that you were married. When did you get married?
2019.
2019. Okay, so when we think about you graduating from college, you played in the pros for 15 years. So that means you got married after majority of that.
Yeah.
So how are you able to, okay, you're an athlete, you've achieved a tremendous amount of success. How do you find a wife at that point?
Man, well, it's tough. It's tough traveling and playing and never kind of being in one spot over the for a long period of time. And I was always changing countries. But my wife and she went to U of L, and I was leaving when she was coming in, and we just kind of crossed paths. Had small conversation, and then later on just kind of rekindled, like, okay, kind of cross paths again. And so not thinking anything of it, man. And before you know it, I'm proposing. So we started dating probably my last 2.5 years of playing. And so I knew I didn't want to have a family while I was playing, because I see a lot of guys that moving their families back and forth from country to country. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that. And that was not something I wanted to do. I wanted my kids to be stable, not having to move around all the time. So I knew I was probably going to retire, like, whenever, and start my family. And that was part of the reason I did retire, because I knew I was getting older. I was 36, and I'm like, by time for me, I don't want to be 45, 46 trying to have kids. I want to be able to play with my kids when I get older. So that was part of my retirement too, because I probably could have played another couple of years, but I started to think about other things and other aspects of life. And, when that starts to creep in, it's time for me to retire if I'm not fully invested in basketball like I was in the previous years. My mind's not all the way in it. I don't need to be halfway around the world and half foot in, half foot out.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Lord would bless you with two little boys. So they don't stand a chance, but having to play basketball. I saw even a picture with the goal in the background. So you said you coached a little bit. You will probably encourage them to play all types of sports, but will you kind of gear them toward basketball, or just kind of let them figure it out on their own?
I mostly just let them figure it out on their own. They'll be active, just because I don't want them sitting around not doing anything. So whatever season it is, that's what they'll play. Still up in the air about football. I want them to play football, but we'll see. I think my youngest one might be up for it. My oldest one, he might go the flag route. But so much to see. But they'll be active. They'll play. If it's something they want to take serious one day, hey, I'm all for it. But if not, I'm all for that too. If they come to me, say, Dad, like, I really want to try to play and get to the next level with this, then I'm like, okay, let's go. But until then, I'll let them be kids, let them play and have fun with it. Not going to force anything upon them. I would love to. I would love to see them take a path. I'm always taking them around it. They always at the gym. They always, they go to football games, go to basketball games. But the one thing I love is that when they go to games, they are dialed in. I was kind of worried about not wanting to sit down, wanting to throw balls, or not paying attention, or not. No, when they go to a game, they are like, don't talking. They don't want to watch no iPad. They don't want to do nothing. They clapping, watching. And I'm so that kind of made me happy, man, to see that they kind of invested in. I'm like, okay, we might got something.
Yeah, I'm like father, like son. Yeah, we might have a little
yeah, we
here.
might have something here.
So what were the main life lessons that you learned from playing sports that you were able to bring into your everyday life, and maybe even a little bit into fatherhood?
Work ethic, discipline. Those are probably the two things that I took away the most, especially once you get into a realm of being a professional and wanting to make a living. Like self-discipline is a big thing for me. Something I do probably 2 or 3 times a year, just set random goals just to keep it sharp. I think the latest one, I always do a Daniel fast with Rev Williams over Bates. They do it the first 21 days of the New Year's. And so I don't do the Daniel fast where I eat of things only grown from the earth, but I give up something that I really desire. Like I'm a big sweets person. So one time I gave up all man-made sugars like juice, candy, anything that wasn't fruit or natural sugars. That was probably the hardest thing I've had to do. That was tough for me. That was tough. And so um, self-discipline, work ethic, those are probably the two biggest things that I took away. But it also taught me how to really develop and kindle relationships, and what that really means as far as life, and really at some point we all need somebody to help us out with something at some point, right? And so I think that's one of the things that you don't learn in school is really kindling and developing relationships for when you cross paths daily later on down the line. Well, how did you treat this person? How did they think of you? Okay, man, he was a great guy. He spoke to me. I was like, no, I didn't like him. Like he was always rude and I didn't really care for him. And how those things can impact and shape things later on in life when you're trying to do things.
So some tips out there for the brothers who are looking for Mrs. Right. Building relationship, like you said, it's tricky. And so with social media and the girls sliding in their DMs, what are some
Oh,
tips?
that's a different animal. No, that's a different animal these days, man. I'm glad I got on out when I did. That's different. So a different animal these days, boy.
Right. It's so crazy. So, I mean, how is a player, an athlete supposed to stay focused on, their game and education and, establishing a relationship? Do you have any tips that you can share for the brothers?
Yeah. Early on, man, when we first got to college, Coach Pitino said, "You might as well go and break up with your girlfriend now." That was the first thing he told us. He said, "You're not going to have enough time." And I mean, he wasn't lying. He wasn't lying. I mean, to be to really understand, because you think about from an athlete standpoint, you wake up, you got to eat breakfast at like 7:30. We have practice, like 8 to 9. Then you got classes from like 9 to 12. You got a lunch break, and then you might have another class from 1 to 2. Then you got practice from 2:30 to 5:30. Then you got to ice down. You might have to go and lift weights. Then you got study hall. By the time you finish study hall, got to go get you something to eat. And after you're done with that, man, you didn't have you a 14-hour day. You're tired. Then you just want to relax. And then your significant other is like, well, where's my time at? I'm like, man, I'm tired. And so, you think about that, man. So it's tough. It really is. And so you just have to have the self-discipline. I'm not saying that you can't have a girlfriend. You can, but you just have to have the right person that's understanding of what it is that you're trying to do. And if they're understanding of that, then by all means.
Do you think, I mean, when you think about how hard Rick Pitino is, and I don't know if you'll be able to answer this question or not, and thinking about the coaches of today, are coaches equally as hard on the players, or do you feel like coaches are not Rick Pitino hard? And I know comparison is a thief, right? But just in terms of developing a Final Four team and knowing the work that has to go in, everybody wants to be in a championship game. Everybody wants to play in the Final Four, but the work ethic that is required in order to get there, do you see that same push from coaches or no?
I think it can be. I think there's more than one way to skin a cat. I mean, obviously, Rick Pitino has his way, but he's not the only coach to win a national championship. You have all other coaches that win national championships. But I think that I just think that the players are different these days. I think you have a lot of kids that enjoy the things that come with being an athlete, the fame and the social media, whether it be girls, money, attention, party, nightlife. I think they enjoy the things that come with it. You have a few that really are passionate about it. But I just think that with social media and attention and the likes, I think it takes away from a lot of the focus that really needs to go in. And then when you throw in things like the transfer portal, where if it's not going my way, I can leave and go someplace else. You throw all these things into a storm, and it kind of takes away the leverage of the coaches that they used to have, because it used to be my way or the highway, right? That was a lot of methodologies for these coaches, and you had to buy into it because you couldn't really leave, because if you leave, you're going to have to sit out, and you never knew what may happen. And so a lot of times the coaches had the leverage, and you had to figure out a way to get it done, which I think is a great thing. So I think, yeah, that's tough, man. That's tough. But it's a new day, man. It's a new day. I think they try to, but I think there's a certain amount of pushback. I think coming up with AAU, it's so many politics in recruiting now with AAU coaches and coaches trying to hire different people on their staff. I just think it's just a different age with players trying to seek money and wanting to leave and transfer. Coaches just they can be hard on them. I think you just have to have the right kids in your system that will allow you to coach that way. Because if you don't, then you're not going to be set up for success, because kids are going to be 1 foot in, 1 foot out, looking for the next thing.
Yeah, I was talking to a track star, and one thing that she told that she said that really stuck with me is that when she went to college, one of the hardest things for her was buying into the process for that particular coach.
Mm-hmm.
So to your point, now if you can buy into the process or you can go someplace else. You have options more. So having options may or may not help, or it may hurt us in the long run if we're thinking about how we're developing as individuals.
Right. Like my first 2 years, I played behind the All-American my first 2 years. I played behind Reese Gaines when he was at Louisville. And so when Reese left, then, my opportunity came then. But like nowadays, kids might not want to sit 2 years behind a guy that's better than you. It continue to develop. So when it's your turn, you can explode on the scene. But, a lot of kid might want to transfer. No, I want to play now. I played, but just, just had a guy in front of me that was All-American. That was a lottery pick that, I got a chance to learn from, because I may not have been the player that I was had I not got a chance to compete against him every day in practice and learn and pick up little things from him. So, I mean, there's pros and cons to it. But, I think going back to the very first question you asked, you have to have the right fit to where you want to go and what you believe in.
Now, do you think you'll ever dabble in coaching?
I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say no. It's probably a passion of mine. It's probably a passion, but just having younger kids, I enjoy time with my kids, especially at the age that they are now, and I enjoy coming home to them all the time. And I know coaching is a really, really, really big demand. And so when they get a little older, I'll probably dabble back into it. But like, I enjoy while I'm in the cool phase now, and they want to be around me. I'll take all the time I can get putting them to bed and hanging out with them.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah, definitely linger in that, because once they don't want to be bothered, they don't want to be bothered, and you're done. So yeah,
just if they need money.
Right. So if we were going to put a bow on this conversation, what is it that you would want the listeners to walk away with?
Man, be grateful, be blessed, treat other people how you want to be treated. Develop relationships with people, and do the right thing. I'd probably say that's, people always get into fault, blaming, not accountability, but a lot of times it's just about doing the right thing, right? And so just continue to be prayed up in decisions that you make, be a blessing to others, and be a servant to other people. You'd be surprised how much more prosperity and blessings that come around when you are a servant to other people. So not only thinking about yourself, but how can you be of service, and how can you be of assistance to somebody else? When we go through life with experiences and gaining knowledge, but what good is gaining that experience and knowledge if you're not passing it on to somebody else to help them up their road to success? So that's how I would wrap it up, put a bow on it.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Larry, for stopping by the Dana Spencer Show. And until next time, remember, be a servant.
Appreciate you, man.